Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel and a new video on the little Vauxhall Combo bargain that we purchased out of Copart. Just before we move on with today's video, I did just want to say I noticed only around 50% of you watching these videos are actually subscribed. Subscribing to the channel is completely free of charge. Of course there's no obligation, but we would really appreciate it, and of course we can see that you are watching. So moving on to the little van. In the last video, if you missed that one, click up here somewhere, you will see it. There is a link for the first video on this van. We took a bit of a chance on it. It's a bargain. It's a bargain, and it's also quite a risk, and you're taking a chance. So this one was actually lost type, says there, fleet, and it was actually a private entry. The worst bit about it was we bought it sight unseen off of a few pictures. I guess you did see it. And I could see that the turbocharger was missing off the engine for this one. And what we allowed when we bid was, I said to Chris, I've bid on that van and I've bid such a ridiculously low amount. If we win it, there's enough in there to get a second-hand engine and actually get this one turned around, because it doesn't need any other work. It is very, very clean, tidy, lovely mileage, Euro 6. You can see it's on a 67 2017 reg. So, luckily, I was flicking through eBay. I found some guys breaking one of these, and I actually, in the end, rung him up. He said, I recognise your voice, and it turns out that he watches the channel, and that's L&B Autos. A huge, huge thank you to them. He was very, very complimentary, and he did us a real cracking deal. He had the turbo there, and not only that, I told him all the other parts we had missing, and he's hooked us up with all the nuts, bolts, gaskets, pipes, and every other little shield that we noticed was missing off of this engine. So we have got some bits to crack on. Does this van really just need a turbo and a clean out through the system, or is there other serious issues with it? Today we are going to find out. Let's crack on with it. Straight to work, bonnet open, up on the ramp, and then underneath you've got a load of little star drives, and then up the top again, same star drives, and you've got two under the front wheel arches there to remove the front bumper. So I've got the front bumper removed, you've got two 8mm on that intercooler, and then you've got the two pipe 7mm Jubilee clips, and you can see I'm hanging it down there, letting all of the oil come out of it. Now I know a lot of you watching, some of you are car people, others are not, they just enjoy the content, are thinking, why on earth are you guys taking the front bumper off that van when it's a turbo problem? And that is actually a good question, and a big part of the problem is when a turbo goes, it does drown everything. So you would have seen on that bit of time lapse the amount of oil. We undone that intercooler and dropped it down one side, and it has put that much oil in there. We've stood that intercooler up in the oil drain and the actual pipe as well, and we're leaving them to drain. There's still oil pouring out of them now, you can see, and we're actually going to leave that there all night before we put a flush through it. And also this pipe, we've just lowered that down. We've undone it from here and we've lowered it down, and it didn't look like there was actually a lot in there, Chris, did it? It didn't, no. And then we tipped it, and literally half a pint has come out of that pipe as well. So we're gonna pull that down, and we're gonna leave that draining in the drain tray all night. Literally oil goes everywhere. But at the moment, is that all lubrication you've put on there?
Yeah, it's just sprayed those up.
There is the DPF and the cat, and we are going to be taking that off as well, and actually we're going to be giving it a good clean, and any oil that's got in there, we want to get out as much of the oil as we can. If we can get that off tonight and get that draining as well, it's just going to aid us when we crack on getting it all cleaned and flushed out and put back together. Like I say, we've got the turbo, that's over here. Second-hand turbo with all of the shields, the pipe that we was missing, all of the nuts, bolts, washers, gaskets. We've got all of it there, but we do not want to fit that turbo, because if you did and you started this up and it sucked all that oil, it would just destroy it. So we're going to continue on, get this DPF removed, and we'll pick up from there. So straight under here to get this DPF out, and it was quite tight and awkward to get out. So once we released the bolts, it was a lot of twisting and shoving it one way, shoving it the other way. And of course, you've got to be careful. It's up against the radiator. It's on the engine as well. And you don't want to break any of the little clips off the plugs or anything like that on the way out. So, bit time consuming, but eventually, as you can see, bit of twisting there and pulled it down and out it come. Right, and that is the DPF removed as well. We've got no oil down the bottom half of it, but you can see there is oil in the top half of it, and there is quite a lot of there is just a lot of oil low down. I mean, nothing's even come out of here, so I think we're all right. But when we was earlier on, something fell in the oil, and I said to Chris, what fell in that oil? And he pulled it out, and it was a big coil, like a drilling, a swolf, but like quite large, about that big. And I said to Chris, do you know what? I'm going to grab that torch. I said, he said, did that really just fall out of here? If it did, something's not right, like something's been drilled on here before. And when we just pulled that out, I spotted another one. Where did I spot that, Chris? It's gone now. I can't remember where I saw it, but... Wait. Ah, yes, could you hold that torch?
It's gone there.
No, could you hold that torch for us?
Oh,
yeah. So there's another one, and Chris has established he thinks they've drilled out maybe one of the glow plugs. So
3 were missing, weren't they?
Yeah, 3 were missing, and one of them obviously is still in there. So we're going to stick this upside down in a drain tray and leave that all night along with the other stuff. And I guess we'll be back.
We will be washing this tomorrow.
Oh yeah, I need to backwash it with some DPF cleaner.
Yeah.
After we've let it drain all night, because you can see it is quite oily, that end. So we will be back in the morning.
So I've got the intercooler there, and I've also got some stale petrol in that can, which I believe it came out of a car we drained the fuel tank down on last year, but I can't remember which vehicle it was. It's been kicking around for ages. So I've got the intercooler, I've propped it up on a piece of wood, and got it in the drain tray there. And the idea is this has been draining all night, so a lot of the oil is out of it now, but there's a lot of oil residue left in there. So the idea is, and I will be repeating this several times, but I'll just show it at once, is to, as you can see, that's cleanish petrol, so it's a bit stale, and that is flushing that through a tree. Few times like that, and that's going to come through quite clean. I think that's going to be quite a bit more effective than trying to use the cans of brake cleaner on it. So yeah, I just wanted to show that once to give an idea of what we're doing.
Right, I've had to zoom in quite close here. You see what Chris done while we was actually out cleaning out that intercooler, and the last piece of the puzzle before we start putting this one back together is actually the DPF and cat components we're using. So that is, I can't think what their actual name is, but they're all over the place, and here they're called cat components. Yeah, they're motor factors. They are, and normally it does say on these bags, it says G Group, so they've got various other companies. They've all got the same sort of sign writing, but they're all over the country anyway. They do Wins, which is a trusted name in the car industry, not sponsored of course, and they do an aerosol can as well. But this is off-car DPF cleaner, and what Chris has actually done, he's put some sort of disc in there. I don't actually know what it is he's put in there. Right, so he's put a bearing and seal tool in there with a bit of kit, and then of course a clamp, and he's actually blanked that off. And this is 24 hour this needs to sit in there for. So what I'm actually going to do is fill it up, and Chris said if it starts to leak out, like if it starts to leak out and we don't get a full 5 litres in there, because that should hold 5 litres, then what we'll have to do is extend this pipe and then actually fill it up and let it break down and eventually get all the way through there. And then Chris is going out for dinner tonight. When he gets home, is actually going to check to see if any of that's leaked out, and if it has, he'll just refill it again. So I guess let's make something up and start pouring this in there, and hopefully it stays in there.
I was thinking radiator hose, elbow.
Oh yeah.
And then if we have to extend it,
We can
fill the pipe up and then we get more volume.
Yeah, we can.
But we will have to blank that one if that's the case.
I'll go and find us a bit of old Rados,
Yeah.
and we get that in there, mate. So a bit of Rados actually off of the Discovery 5 we decided to wedge in there and actually started filling it up. We got about 3 litres in and it started leaking out one of the pressure holes. So I'll put my finger over it, Chris run off, grabbed something to put over there, and we topped it up and put the rest of it in. We managed to get it in there. Just a bit of hose, and that's actually a bit of the old Land Rover hose, and you can see I've just wound it into the top and it actually fitted okay. But Chris just read the instructions on the Wins DPF cleaner. I don't know why he told me on the phone it was 24 hours. Chris just said, is it 90 to 100 minutes, did you say? Oh, 120 minutes. So an hour and a half to 2 hours, and that would have done its thing. So we're going to leave it for a few hours, and then when Chris gets back, he's going to take that clamp off the bottom and let it all out. Fingers crossed, if it all comes pouring out that hole at the bottom, it's not blocked, it's done. So we'll see how we get on once that's been in there for a few hours, and hopefully then we can start the process of building this back up, get that turbo on it, and see if we bought a peach or an absolute lemon. So a bit unfortunate, got in this morning, and as you can see in the background, there must be a little hole in that black tray maybe. That is a tray that we found in the boot of a car once. Yeah. But I mean, it is, yeah, it's holding a fair bit, isn't it?
And that's what seeped through.
Seeped through there. So that is a good thing, because that means it's unblocked. It's not blocked, is it?
No.
And yeah, I don't know how quite a lot of it went on the floor, but Chris is going to unclamp that and we'll see if anything else. Yeah, see?
Might need a little tap on there, Rob.
Right.
That pipe's leaking a bit as well there.
Just just prise that out?
Yeah,
or is that...
yeah, might just to tap it. It was only a tap fit. That's it. There you go. Well,
that's definitely not blocked then, because we've gone backwards on that. And that's nice to see, isn't it?
That's 5 litres, isn't it, gone through that?
Yeah.
So.
Oh, mate, well.
Jet wash.
Now with that done, I guess we'll jet wash that out, and then we can move on to maybe start putting a few bits back on this van. But
definitely.
I'm so happy to see the fact that we've backwashed that, haven't we?
Yep.
We've poured it in the exit, and it's actually, we've done it in reverse and it's all come out. And Chris did pick up the intercooler this morning. That's actually been resting. You can see it up there. I'm just going to zoom in on that. And that's been resting in that oil tray since we started this video. And Chris picked it up this morning and said, I can actually see daylight all the way through it. So that's all cleaned out as well, mate. Yeah. Right, let's get this quickly washed out, if the water's not frozen, and we'll start building this one back up. Up in the air and back in with that DPF, and later in the video, that was actually a mistake, and I'll tell you later why. So back in there with the DPF, pushed it to the centre section of the exhaust, haven't done it up, and just rested it over the two 13mm studs where it's actually going to be done up. Got that on there and then started. Just before I get carried away there on the time lapse, little bit of an update. The cat actually went in 3 times easier than it was to get it out. It was a bit of a nightmare to get out, but we managed to take our time with it, angle it, and got it out, no problems at all. You can still see there is a few bubbles on there, but we've actually had Chris's leaf blower, both ends of that, blowing as hard as we can, and a lot of bubbles have come out of it. I should think it's pretty dry now. We've also gone down the route of the, what did you call those pipes, Chris? I keep getting the pressure hoses. We've actually blown down both of those as well, and they are all clear also. Chris did notice up there is a brand new pressure valve, and they haven't put the little clamps back round them. So there've definitely been some issues here before. Probably where that DPF was blocked, they've replaced. Sorry, they have replaced this pressure valve, and it's obviously not solved the issue.
So quite often flags that up.
Go this side, bud, for us.
It flags that up as a fault code, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But it's actually not faulty. It's the pipes are blocked or the DPF is blocked.
Yeah.
So because you've got two there, pre and post.
That's it.
So and it compares the values, and they have to stay within a certain parameter. Obviously, that indicates it's a blockage.
Yeah. Right, I am going to crack on. Chris is just actually going to a meeting. He's helping me here and he's meant to be going. I'm going to crack on and get this turbo fitted so that we can move on with this one. Messing around with the turbo and tightening everything else up around it. So in and out with the turbo, just checking that everything lines up, getting the exhaust paste ready, cleaned up the actual turbo on the bench grinder, the bench wire brush rather, just get all the surfaces nice and clean, the mating surfaces, before we put it in. So 100% same excuse as usual. It was clear to see how many times I had that turbo on and off there. And you can see, there's your two manifold nuts there. And then the bolt is actually right down underneath. Stick my hand, is it there? That's where your third one is. And it's a bolt that comes up from underneath. So definitely, that's what I'm saying, the old excuse. We never took this apart. So I've put that back on and not realising, because that was on there, I've assumed they've got that turbo off with that on there, but I don't think that was the case, because you need this out the way. I mean, I've managed to pull it forward and get that much gap, and I've squeezed my hand down inside there with that ratchet. Fortunately, it swivels, and I've been able to get that tight underneath there. I'm now going to get the spanner on it and just nip it up, but I've pretty much got it tight. I can do these two up now and then just nip that one up underneath, but that was a nightmare, I don't mind admitting. Let's continue on and get this built up. So you would have seen in the last bit where I was on off with that turbo, and the bolts are so awkward to get to. Well, the two top ones are easy. The one up underneath is ridiculous to get to, and that is where the DPF should have actually been left off earlier in the video and done this bit first, but eventually I got there with it. I actually stopped the time lapse a little while ago, and guys, I just got cracking. This has got to come off it, and we didn't get one with it, and that's the one we got sent. Unfortunately, that heat shield is no good. I've just sat it on there for a moment. We've got the heat shield there to go on top of the turbo, but again, I don't want to put that on because I want to look out for leaks. You can see Chris has even had to make a bit of a bolt up there because it's missing. EGR valves back on. All of this, none of it we unplugged. So it's been an absolute nightmare to get that all plugged in. We are now tight. I've just got to lift it up, tighten up the cat and the actual exhaust going to the centre section. I need to tighten those up, and then I'm going to drop the oil and filter and swap them out. I've got nice new ones in here that I picked up yesterday. Got the service kit there, so we'll get that fitted before we start it up. I can't wait, and again, fingers crossed. So let's get the oil drained out, get the filter swapped over and see how we get on. So up in the air, sump plug undone, drain the oil that's in there into a drain tray. So dump all of that out, stick the sump plug back in as soon as it's all drained. Do that up so that you don't forget. I'm then going to lower the ramp down and actually move the drain tray just underneath the driver's side headlight. You'll see me put it, and that's just below the oil filter. We'll undo the oil filter, any excess will fall straight in that tray. Really trying and moving on with this, so I just removed the oil filter and then noticed straight away that I actually had the wrong one. So I've just whipped round, got the oil filter, and while I was gone, Chris has put repair washers actually on this, and that's nice and sturdy now.
Underneath as well.
Underneath. Oh yeah, so they'll be...
Sorry, man.
No, that's all right. I'm just going this side, yeah.
Yeah, it just needed longer bolts because it's obviously spaced it out a bit. But
so far, so good. I think we've still got the intercooler to pop on, but all the pipe work is there. And Chris just took out the oil filter, air filter. Look at the state of that, mate. Can you just get that one back out? And... I mean, there's no excuse for that, is there? That's unbelievable. That is. Yeah. Been an air filter too long.
You can't use that, though.
I can't use that saying because, well,
It'll end up on someone's sweatshirt, won't it?
Let's get on. So this is the bit I was meant to time-lapse for quite some time doing a service, but actually the only bit we ended up doing was filling the oil because I recorded live for 12 minutes instead of time-lapse. Right, I think we're there with it. I did time-lapse fitting the intercooler, oil filter and everything else, and when I just looked at the phone, I'd been recording us live for 12.5 minutes. So that's not going to quite work out. Chris is just casting his expert eye over, making sure everything is plugged in, everything looks like it's good to go. There's plenty of water in it. It's now got 3.2 litres of new oil in it. It's got new oil filter. Everything is back on.
Have you mentioned the heat shield?
Well, I've mentioned I've got it, but I've left it off.
Yeah, so we can observe
and check for leaks.
Yeah, that's it.
So,
all good, mate.
Was it just a brand new second-hand turbo that's going to solve this, or did we buy an absolute lemon?
Well, it's a moment of truth.
It's a gamble. Everyone's a gamble, mate.
Yep.
Do you know what? I ain't even got the keys ready.
Right.
How about that?
I don't even know what happened to them, Rob.
I pushed it in, so they're possibly on the... Yeah, they're here. Sorry, mate. They're on the dash. Right, fire in the hole. We're all going to see this together.
I don't know whether I'm going to get in there.
Fingers crossed. You'll get in. Let's zoom out a little bit. That's too
ate
close.
A bit much over Christmas, to be honest, Rob.
Did you?
Yeah.
I lost a bit. You put a bit on. I think no revving. It's just going to be if it's... Well, once it starts. We know it starts because it previously did.
Right.
Tick it over till all the oil gets up to the turbo and...
Ready?
Yeah. Hang on, a little bit of a chuff and a miss there. Just let it, that's it, it's settling down. It has got a little blow. To be honest, it's got a little bit of a blow out of the turbo at the top, but has your oil light gone out?
Yeah, oil light went straight out.
Just walk round the back. There's a fair bit of white smoke coming out of it.
Gonna be,
but you got to expect that, yeah. It is settling down, but I would say it's definitely running a little bit rough. You got engine light on?
Engine management light is on, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll look into that.
Engine, didn't it? It hasn't now.
Can I just...
I guess that's because everything's plugged back in.
I'm just going to stop that recording, double check it's picking us up, and then we'll continue on. But it's actually settled down now and it's running on all four. Well, mate, I think we got lucky there. Do you want to jump out, have a look? I'd let it warm up a little bit more, but sounds all right. I'm not going to lie.
Had a bit of diesel knock when it fired up.
It did, but all that oil had been shooting down in there.
Oh, that's right.
That actually sounds sweet as a nut. What is the mileage? Someone
83.
That's a lovely bit of miles, isn't it, for this?
Yeah. Are we
that sounds
recording?
right. Yeah, we're recording.
Yeah,
shall I go round? I think I'll have a little walk round.
Might. Does it pick it up? It sounds sweet.
Yeah. Try not to boost up that turbo.
Where's that coming from?
This, you know, where you put the nut and bolt through that hoop.
It's missing the right.
I'll tell you what I'm possibly going to do. It's starting to get hot and it's starting to really smoke, white smoke.
Put it down and
I think just back out the workshop a little. Is that all right?
Yeah.
I know we've got to come back on the ramp to put the bumper on it, but bear with me a sec.
Yep.
It's actually cleared now, I've said that. Should we leave it? Or do you want to take it out and give it a little rev?
No, I mean, we haven't got to go back up in the air, have we?
To put the front bumper on, yeah.
All right. Yeah, leave it here then.
Leave it here?
Yeah, leave it here.
Give it a little, I'm going to have a little walk around, Chris. If you give it a little rev, I'll show the leak. See it leaking just out there, so that's fine. You might even get away with just nipping that. So
what's that, the one where the correct bolt was missing?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I haven't over-tightened that.
Oh, you've not?
So you might, it's 2/17.
That's exactly what I just said.
Yeah.
You might get away with nipping it. Give it a little rev, mate. I mean, that's not excessive, is it? Chris, there's
What's it, blowing bubbles?
It's blowing bubbles out of the exhaust. Hold it up a little bit more. That's it. Hold it there. That is that DPF cleaner. Well, mate, that's great news that that's clearing, isn't it? Oh, that's clear as anything.
Yeah. I mean, engine lights. Shall we put the scanner on?
I think so, definitely.
Just,
yeah.
Before we put the bumper on.
It may want knocking out. Yeah, that's the thing.
It's clearing. Yeah.
It's been flooded with oil, hasn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's had so much unplugged.
A company has actually sent us a new diagnostic, so we're going to plug that in and try that, I think. Yeah. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, sounds good, mate.
Sounds lovely. So we didn't get time to set up the new computer, so we've just we've actually plugged this one in, which is that new Autel Pro 808. I'm going to mention it because they sent this out to us. It is a Maxicom MK808 BT Pro, and it is very similar to the other one we had, but obviously a lot more advanced. And surprise, surprise, is pretty much what we was expecting. Yeah. Mass or volume airflow sensor A circuit. We know we've run it with that unplugged. EGR temperature sensor B circuit. Again, we've run it unplugged. Turbocharger boost control, well, it didn't have one. No. So definitely that was unplugged. And particulate filter efficiency below threshold bank 1, again, it was all actually unplugged, even though we've had it off. So
but that could be that it was blocked.
Yes, that could have been the problem that caused it.
So
we're going to go with erase codes, and hopefully none of them come back on. Fingers crossed, but if they do, we'll have to obviously work on that. But it looks like all trouble codes, I think it does do.
Well, we're going to have to start it.
Yeah, I'm just going to let it quickly do. Yeah, no codes.
No.
So,
as soon as you run that, it'd be interesting, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it will.
Yeah, so we'll have to drive it now, Rob.
Yeah.
It hasn't come back on yet, but that's not to say when we drive it,
it won't. Yeah.
Come back on.
Mate, I mean, we got a load of little jobs like the exhaust.
I don't know about you, but shall we put the bumper on? And then...
No, do you know what I think? I think we should actually drive it with the bumper off.
Just up and
down the yard.
And see what happens.
And, yeah, I guess just wait for that light to go out. But I think we'll call it here. What do you reckon?
Yeah. Or there's nothing in the way. Should we just have a quick drive up the gate now?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
You see all that foam coming out the exhaust? That's going to do that for a little while. I think what we'll probably have to do is put that outside and actually let it get really hot on its own. Just let it warm up and get hot, and then maybe even drive it up and down a few more times just to get it really hot. He's taking his time there. Hopefully he hasn't broken down. No, here he comes.
That seatbelt thing went off again, so that's going to come out on the video.
Right.
Yeah, engine lights come back on.
I can see that, yeah.
Revs going up and down on their own a little bit there.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know if you heard that then.
Ah, have you got your foot on the clutch? That's why. A lot of cars and vans do that now. You know, as soon as you put the clutch down, it picks the revs up so you don't stall it. But there is a bit of white smoke.
Sounds all right, though.
Yeah, there's plenty of froth coming out the back of it. One sec. Yes.
Sounds very crisp.
Yeah, it's smoking a lot, but
turbo's boosting up, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of residue down there, isn't there?
Yeah. Do you want to hold that, mate? Just running round this way. Well, we've got quite a lot done in this video, and I don't think we can do any more. We're going to have to investigate that. Front bumper wants putting back on. Honestly, I know it was wishful thinking, but I thought we was doing everything in this video, but we just haven't had time, have we? And I think we got a lot done.
Well,
in
we've
this
answered
video.
the question.
did we buy a lemon?
Yeah,
I think it's all going to be all right.
I think it is.
I do think it's going to be all right, and it's actually a nice tidy van as well,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's not been abused or anything. So that is going to be the end of today's video. As usual, if you did enjoy it, we'd appreciate that thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Follow us on Instagram at Salvage Rebuilds. Follow Chris on his own Instagram at Salvage Rebuilds Chris. Like, subscribe and share. I fell over again today, and we'll see you all very, very soon in the next one. Yeah, Chris, Claire said to me, he's a bit rude, babe, you ain't spoke to my mum in 6 months. I said, I ain't being funny, love. I didn't want to interrupt her.
I like it. It's a good one.